Republican strategist and Trump supporter Boris Epshteyn. Boris, I appreciate your time this morning on a Sunday morning. You heard from Bernie Sanders right there, and we know no secret when it comes to these polls in the general. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump neck and neck, but the dominance of Bernie Sanders in these polls, as he just mentioned, what do you count for that?
Well, Governor Kasich was doing well in the general polls also, but where is he now? The reason is this. Bernie Sanders has not really been under the spotlight of the media at all. The only negative story we've really seen was that horrible story about the university that his wife ran up in Vermont, that she ran into the ground with debt. That's just an example of how a Bernie Sanders economy would work. So there's not really been much of a focus on him from the national media, and obviously there's not been any attacks really in the media from the Republican side. So those polls are really not reliable at all. If you were to become the nominee, I will absolutely guarantee you that those polls will not only tighten, but Trump will be in the lead nationally.
Well, let's talk about another recent poll taken in vital Rust Belt states, including Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wyoming, and you have Trump trailing Hillary Clinton by 7 points among the voters that he says are his base, the white working class. So what do you attribute that to, and is that a sign of trouble for Trump when it comes to those states and beyond?
Not at all. Well, 7 points with a 3.5 point margin of error is actually very tight, first of all. And then if you look at the Quinnipiac polls in the states of Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida, the key states for the election, which is how we really have to view this election on a state-by-state basis on the Electoral College, you know, the Trump is either leading or tied with Hillary in all three of those key states of Florida, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. And there are other polls which show him doing very well with folks of that same range of income that you're talking about. So he did very well in Indiana and Illinois and Michigan in the primaries, as well as, of course, Pennsylvania and even Ohio. He only lost by a few points to a sitting governor in Governor Kasich. Trump did. So I absolutely am confident that Donald Trump in the general election will win Pennsylvania, Florida, and Ohio.
But what is needed there, and some will say that there is a lack of the ground game for him to get moving when it comes to money and operation to look ahead in winning those states in the general. But you also have this, considering the article in the Washington Post that details what they're calling chaos inside the Trump campaign, like the candidate's habit of pitting his people against each other and refusal to delegate important jobs. I want to read you this quote here from former New York City mayor and longtime Trump friend Rudy Giuliani, who tells the Post this: Trump is a micromanager on the most important things, but not all things. He has his head and what he wants to do and his issues, and he'll hold on to them instead of sharing those big decisions. So you have those that'll say, you know what, when it comes to Donald Trump's biggest supporters, it really isn't going to matter what's happening with the infighting inside his own camp. But some will say, if that's reflective of the White House and administration he'll have if he wins the nomination and even wins the general election, how can he be an effective leader of the entire country?
Abraham Lincoln had the same thing going on inside of his administration. He had a lot of equals who were having discussions with one another, sometimes disagreeing, and then coming up with a common plan. There's no problem with that at all. All campaigns have a chief strategist and a campaign manager. When I was on McCain, you had Rick Davis and you had Schmidt, Steve Schmidt. Obama had Plouffe and Axelrod. You know, Clinton had Carville and Begala. So there's always more than one voice in the room, and there has to be. Now, as far as the boss, Donald Trump is the boss, and that's exactly what this country needs. It needs a leader who's going to be leading and not just punting the decisions to his team, as Obama has done for so long now in his time as president.
Boris, very quickly, if you're saying he's the boss, who's the number two? Who would be the best number two to catapult him over Sanders or Clinton?
The number two, you mean as far as the vice president pick goes?
Yes.
I think there are a lot of very capable people out there. You know, the governor, Mary Found, the governor of Oklahoma, is out there. Newt Gingrich, Chris Christie, Senator Corker. There are a lot of very, very capable candidates out there. And Donald Trump, believe you me, will be the one that makes that decision, and it'll be the right one for his campaign and for this country.
Boris Epshteyn, thank you so much for your time. Cornered by a 400-pound gorilla.